Nkem, a headstrong teenage boy, mocks tradition by performing a forbidden act in the market, looking between his legs, a gesture believed to anger the spirits. To his shock, he becomes inexplicably stuck in the humiliating position. As the bustling market grinds to a halt, sorrowful and sympathetic onlookers gather, witnessing the consequences of his defiance. Will he remain trapped in the market, or will the spirits show him mercy? Let's find out in this story. Nkem was no ordinary teenager. Known for his rebellious streak, he loved testing the boundaries of rules and traditions. Living in Abodoku, a bustling market town where taboos carried weight, Nkem often dismissed the old ways as mere superstitions. One fateful market day, Nkem accompanied his mother to buy foodstuff. The market, as vibrant as ever, buzzed with traders shouting their wares and customers haggling over prices. It was here that Nkem overheard two old women talking about the ancient taboo, never look between your legs in the market. Intrigued, he leaned closer, pretending to examine a basket of yams. "That's how the spirits catch you," one woman whispered, her voice heavy with warning. A smirk spread across Nkem's face. "Spirits? What nonsense," he muttered under his breath. His mother, sensing his distraction, scolded him. "Stay close, Nkem. And mind yourself." But Nkem's curiosity had already been piqued. As his mother haggled over peppers, he wandered toward a quiet corner of the market, away from prying eyes. His rebellious thoughts swirled. What could possibly happen? He decided to find out. With a quick glance to ensure no one was watching, Nkem bent forward, peering between his legs. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the ground beneath him seemed to shift. His vision blurred, and a chill ran down his spine. Before he could straighten up, an invisible force gripped him. The market noise faded, replaced by an eerie silence. Nkem tried to move, but his legs felt as though they were cemented to the ground. Panic set in as he realized he was stuck, bent in an awkward position, unable to lift his head. A few passers-by noticed him and gasped. "The boy has defied the spirits," someone cried. The crowd began to gather, murmuring in shock and fear. Nkem's heart raced. What had he done? Nkem's predicament quickly drew a crowd. Traders abandoned their stalls, customers halted their shopping, and curious onlookers surrounded him in a widening circle. Everyone whispered, their voices a mix of fear and intrigue. "Did you see that? He's stuck. He must have looked between his legs. That's the only explanation." The boy's awkward position made the situation all the more humiliating. His legs were firmly rooted, his back bent forward, and his head upside down. Try as he might, he could not straighten himself. Sweat poured down his face, and his legs trembled, but it was as if some unseen force held him in place. "Help me," Nkem pleaded, his voice cracking with desperation. An elderly man stepped forward, shaking his head solemnly. "This is the work of the market spirits," he declared. "He has broken the sacred taboo." The crowd collectively gasped. Nkem's mother, hearing the commotion, pushed her way through the throng. When she saw her son's bizarre state, she dropped her basket of peppers in shock. "Nkem, what have you done?" she cried. I don't know," he stammered. I looked, Mama." Her face paled. She grabbed his arm, trying to pull him upright, but it was no use. He wouldn't budge. Tears welled up in her eyes as the weight of the situation sank in. The crowd debated on what to do next. "Call the chief priest," someone suggested. "Only he can communicate with the spirits." Another voice protested, "But what if the spirits are angry? It might be dangerous to interfere." Amid the debate, Nkem's fear turned to regret. Why hadn't he listened? The taboo had been more than an old wives' tale, it had been a warning. And now, he was paying the price. As the afternoon sun blazed down, the crowd grew restless. Some traders murmured about closing their stalls, fearing the wrath of the market spirits. Others whispered prayers, clutching charms and amulets for protection. Finally, word came that the chief priest, a man named Is-Agbola, was on his way. Known for his deep connection to the spiritual realm, Is-Agbola was both revered and feared. It was said he could see what others could not and commune with forces beyond the mortal world. When he arrived, the crowd parted like the Red Sea. Draped in a robe adorned with cowries and feathers, his presence commanded silence. He carried a staff carved with intricate symbols and a calabash filled with mysterious substances. Is-Agbola surveyed the scene, his piercing gaze resting on Kem. "Young one," he said, his voice deep and resonant, "you have angered the spirits. Why did you defy the sacred law?" "I didn't think it was real," Nkem admitted, tears streaming down his face. "I just wanted to see what would happen." The priest shook his head gravely. "Curiosity is not an excuse for disrespect. The market spirits guard this place. To defy them is to invite their wrath." He raised his staff and began chanting in an ancient language. The air grew heavy, and the market seemed to darken, as if the spirits themselves were listening. Nkem felt a strange sensation, as though unseen eyes were watching him. The priest sprinkled powder from his calabash around Kem, creating a small circle. "If we are to release you," Is-Agbola said, "we must first appease the spirits. But their anger is great. This will not be easy." The crowd held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Is-Agbola set his staff in the ground with a resounding thud, signaling the start of the ritual. The crowd watched in silence as he poured a dark liquid from his calabash into the circle around Kem. The smell was pungent, a mix of herbs and what could only be described as decay. He chanted in a low, rhythmic voice, the words foreign to most ears. The market air thickened, and even the most skeptical onlookers could feel a shift in the atmosphere. It was as if the very ground beneath their feet was alive and listening. "Spirit of the market, hear me," Is-Agbola called out. "This child has disrespected your domain, but he is young and foolish. Spare him your wrath, and we will offer you what is due." Nkem's heart pounded. He didn't know what was worse, the shame of being stuck in this humiliating position or the fear of what the spirits might demand. The priest turned to the crowd. "To appease the spirits, we must offer a sacrifice. It cannot be avoided." Gasps rippled through the onlookers. A man stepped forward hesitantly. "What kind of sacrifice, priest?" "A cock, white as the morning sun," Is-Agbola replied. "It must be pure and unblemished." The crowd began murmuring. A white cock was rare, a prized possession among poultry farmers. Nkem's mother, desperate to free her son, clutched the priest's arm. "Please, I'll do whatever it takes," she said. "I'll find the cock." Is-Agbola nodded. "Be quick. The spirits are restless." As Nkem's mother rushed off to find the offering, the priest continued chanting. Nkem remained frozen, sweat pouring down his face. He realized then that his stubbornness had not only endangered himself but had also brought chaos to the entire market. It took over an hour, but Nkem's mother finally returned, clutching a squawking white cock in her arms. The bird flapped its wings wildly, sensing its fate. She handed it to Is-Agbola with trembling hands. "This is all I could find," she said, her voice hoarse from running and bargaining. "Please, let it be enough." The priest examined the cock carefully, running his hands over its feathers and murmuring prayers. "It is pure," he declared, raising it above his head. The crowd exhaled in relief. Is-Agbola began the next phase of the ritual. He sprinkled more powder around Kem and then drew a line of chalk from the boy's feet to the center of the circle. The priest's chants grew louder, echoing through the market. He held the cock above the line and, with a swift motion, slit its throat. Blood dripped onto the ground, soaking into the earth. Nkem flinched, feeling a strange heat rise around him. Spirits of the market, is Agbola intoned, we offer this life in exchange for the boy's freedom. Accept our gift and release him from your grip. The crowd watched in awe as the blood seemed to disappear, absorbed by the soil. A low rumble echoed through the market, and the air grew lighter. Nkem felt a tingling sensation in his legs. He wiggled his toes, he could move again. Slowly, his body straightened. Gasps of relief and cheers erupted from the crowd. Nkem staggered, nearly collapsing, but his mother caught him. "Thank you, priest," she said, tears streaming down her face. But his Agbola raised a hand. "The spirits are not fully appeased. The boy has been freed, but there is a warning he must heed." The market fell silent once again as his Agbola knelt before Nkem, his eyes heavy with wisdom and warning. "The spirits have freed you," he said, "but they do not forget easily. Your actions have left a mark." Nkem, now able to stand but weak from the ordeal, swallowed hard. What does that mean?" His Agbola pointed to the ground where the blood of the cock had soaked into the earth. The spot now glowed faintly, a shimmering red that seemed alive. "This is a seal," he explained. "It is a reminder of your disobedience. If you ever break the sacred laws again, the spirits will not be so forgiving." The crowd murmured in unease. Many had heard of marks left by spirits, but few had ever seen one. It was said that such marks bound a person to the spirit world, ensuring that they would always be washed. What must he do to avoid their wrath? Nkem's mother asked, clutching his arm protectively. "The boy must live a life of respect and humility," his Agbola replied. "He must avoid places where the spirits dwell unless invited, and he must never again mock their ways." Nkem nodded, his defiance replaced by fear. He realized now how foolish he had been to dismiss the warnings of his elders. "I understand," he said quietly. "I'll never do it again." His Agbola turned to the crowd. "Let this be a lesson to all of you. The spirits are real, and their laws are not to be taken lightly. May this boy's ordeal serve as a warning to others who think they know better." As the crowd began to disperse, Nkem and his mother made their way home. But even as they left the market, he couldn't shake the feeling that unseen eyes were still watching him, waiting for him to slip up again. Nkem felt a wave of relief and gratitude. He knew he would never forget the lessons he had learned. From that day on, he vowed to respect the traditions of his people and live a life of integrity. The spirits, though ever watchful, would no longer haunt him. Instead, they would serve as a reminder of the power of humility and the importance of respecting the unseen forces that guide the world. This story highlights the significance of respecting the unseen forces and traditions that govern our lives. It shows that arrogance and disregard for rules can lead to unexpected consequences. Nkem's journey teaches us that pride can blind us, but courage, humility, and self-reflection can guide us back to the right path. Ultimately, the story underscores the value of being mindful of our actions and the impact they have on others and the world around us. Thank you so for listening to this story. I'd really appreciate it if, after enjoying this story, you could take a moment to like, share, subscribe and leave a comment. Your support means a lot and helps encourage me to keep sharing more stories. Bye.